What does a drift car look like to you? My guess is you're probably thinking of something like this, or even something a little more like this. But I'm willing to bet you never expected something like this to be a capable drift car. Today, I'm going to be testing some of the weirdest and most obscure vehicles in GTA 5 to try and find the most cursed drift car possible and to see just how ridiculous a drift build we can make. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a ton. And for more GTA 5 drifting content, check out my drifting playlist for weekly drifting guides, drift builds, and tips. Also, if you're looking for a place to drift with others or join clean, organized car meets, join our Discord server link below. We're super close to 8,000 members and we'd love to have you join our awesome community. With all of that being said, let's get straight into the video. So in terms of a cursed drift car, I think the Patriot stretch just about ticks all the boxes. It's definitely the flashiest of the bunch though, and it's about as long as an airstrip, so this is going to be an experience. But let's tune it up, throw some low grips on it and see how it is. I'm actually about to try and drift the Hummer limo. It's definitely not an everyday drift build, but who knows, it might work. Alright, off the bat, this thing is super slippery on low grips. Like, it actually just feels like I'm driving on ice for this. Sliding it through the corners, the control, for a car this long, you can't really expect there to be any. It just kind of slides and you have to just hope that it goes where you want it to. But let's go ahead, try stancing this thing and see if it's any better like that. Let's go ahead and slam it down. Now, once you've stanced it, let's go throw it into a few corners and see how it is. Okay, don't get me wrong, this isn't awful to try and control. The handling's super unresponsive. Thing's like 20 meters long, but you know, clutch kick, it's there. It actually gives the car some power. It's got decent power in the first place, you know, being rear wheel drive and all. And this thing actually can sort of slide. Sliding it through corners, you know, you can definitely get it to kick out. It's got a decent amount of oversteer for it. I'd say the main drawback of this is just, yeah, being able to control it and also fitting it through the corners you want to get it through. Its size isn't all that bad though. You do really need to throw the car into the corner to get it to slide, but because of its weight, if you throw it into the corner, it has a lot of momentum, so you can really carry out your slides a lot easier with it. It's not going to have like the finesse of a smaller sports car like the Rapid GT, but this could definitely be a fun way to kill some time. This is not bad. It's just a super goofy kind of fun car to slide about, and honestly, it's not too bad. Can it slide? Absolutely. Just really surprising. Next up, we've got the Dynasty, one of the most forgotten cars in this game. So we're going to go ahead and throw some life back into it by tuning this taxi into a drift build. This thing can slide pretty well. That's my first impression of it. The main drawback with this though is just that killer oversteer. The car just wants to kick out so much and its throttle does not help things at all. You put down the throttle just the slightest bit too much and that back end is sending you to next week. This thing is very hard to handle, and 1 minute you're trying to keep the car from spinning out on you, and then the next, when you actually get a decent angle, it's straightening out on you. But don't let that take away from the fact that once you do manage to get this thing under control, it can actually hold a decent and pretty smooth line. You can go ahead and link drifts up together and do some nice transitions. It is actually all right. Really, for those lower speeds is where this car absolutely thrives, and it has a decent clutch kick to go ahead, keep that power steady and consistent. And you know, this thing isn't able to get the most angle out of any car, or it's going to spin out. But with the limited angle that it does have, you can hold some pretty nice drifts. For a slower speed car, and especially one as heavy as this, honestly surprised me that it could drift like this. By no means is it like an amazing drift car, but does it slide? Most definitely. Have you ever had the feeling that stancing a drift car just wasn't for you? Having a super low slung drift car, it's just not your style. Well, if that is you, have I got a car for you, the Faction Donk. We're gonna go ahead and turn this bad boy into a drifting machine right here. Let's throw some low grips on, tune it up, and see how it does. Alright, so let's go ahead and take this thing out on the track and actually see how well this thing is. So far it is just oversteering like crazy, but it's really slippery. It's actually surprising. I can actually hold an alright line with this thing. Clutch kick is there. It's pretty good. I'd say it's comparable to the Faction. This is going to be a lot slower, obviously. This thing's like 7 feet tall and the wheels are massive, but this looks like it has potential. Now, handling wise on this thing, it isn't exactly the easiest thing to use. It's definitely quite twitchy. I'm having to fight with it through the corners a decent amount, but if I manage to hit a good angle with it though, and then hit the clutch kick at the right moment, it can definitely slide pretty smoothly. It is actually alright. Higher speeds though, it's gonna be a no-go. This thing just kicks out like crazy. If I try and hit the angle at that speed, the back end's just gonna slide out. So this is gonna be one of those cars that's just pretty smooth at those slower speeds, and probably best for that. Yeah, the oversteer is just a bit too crazy for it. Okay, let's go ahead and try this thing out on hydraulics, just see if we can get anything to work with that. Yeah, no, hydraulics are just not the play here. The hydraulics just make this thing even worse. Like, the control is not there. You can't get really any angle. It's just really goofy. Overall, I mean, can I call it a great drift car? Probably not. But for what it is, I'd have to say that it's pretty good. If you want something to mix up your drifting experience and you want to try something a little bit more out there, pretty wacky, maybe give this a shot. Now the next car we're going to test is the Regina. This thing is normally super slow, but who knows? We might be able to get the weight to actually help us to slide nicely. Let's go ahead and pimp it out. I'd say that's pretty fitting for such a car. Slam this bad boy down, and then we'll go ahead and try it out. First impressions on low grips, this thing, as expected, has little to no traction at all. And I mean, power wise, it's got about 7 horsepower, so you'd think it's gonna be pretty bad at drifting, but so far, it's actually better than I expected. I didn't really expect much from this thing, but I think it might actually be usable. Don't get me wrong, its handling actually feels like I'm trying to drift a boat. Like, this thing is super slow through the corners, but it's quite smooth with that as well. It's not the quickest thing, but it's really nice. If anything, it handles a bit like a slow muscle car. It's got like a ton of body roll to kind of help it through the corners, but I can't imagine this is going to be easy to really slide at a higher speed, if it can even get to a higher speed. Okay, let's try clutch kicking this thing as I go into the corner. Okay, now this is actually decent for the power. Like, I think the easiest thing I can compare it to is the Faction. It's super slow, but it just slides, you know? There's nothing I can really complain about this thing. It's just a slow drifter. Now let's get to testing the Dubsta 6x6. It's one of the more interesting designs the game has to offer, so I'm quite curious to see how it drifts. Got my oil money ready to blow, so let's tune this thing up. Alright, let's go ahead and try and get some first impressions here, see how this thing slides, because oh my, this is slippery on lows. Alright, let's go ahead and take it around this little hairpin. Oh my, this is not bad. This is actually sliding. This is just odd. Okay, just from that corner, I mean, I can already tell this thing's going to be nutty at sliding. I mean, this is the kind of thing you'd never expect to work, but I think, oh no, this thing is great. I love this already. This is so weird. It's for such a big car. Why does it have so much control? All right, let's go ahead and just quickly see if it's any better once we stance it. Let's go ahead and slam it down. Alright, let's go hit another corner with this thing, and oh my days, this thing slammed down as well, slides super well. I'm not honestly sure if I should call it drifting or power sliding, but whatever it is, I'm enjoying it. This just slides and slides and slides. Honestly, I just direct the car wherever I want it to go, and it just goes there so gracefully. Like, it's not the fastest drift though, but honestly, this is just a ton of fun. Yeah, when I'm trying to, let's go ahead and try and clutch kick this thing. There's definitely more power going to those rear wheels, so I can just keep doing the clutch kick. I honestly thought that having 6 wheels is just going to give this thing more traction and make it harder to drift, but honestly, if anything, it's made it better. This thing is just awesome. I mean, let's try hit some bigger angles with these corners, and as you can see, I can just hit insane angles in the corner and the car will just put up with it. You know, there's a decent amount of oversteer there, but if you just control your throttle, you'll be alright. I mean, honestly, for a car on low grips, like of this size, it's actually insane how much control you have with it. This is drifting like pretty close to some of the smaller cars. Like, you know, I'm not gonna say it's, you know, comparable to like a Rapid GT, but honestly, this is actually sick. Overall, it's a very nice car. You can get some super long, nice slides going with it, super smooth. This thing is honestly probably the most fun out of all the cars so far. Like, it gets my approval. Stance UK seal of approval right here. This thing is absolutely great. You need to try this thing out. This is fun. But now I want to pass the torch on to you guys and hear your thoughts. Comment down below what are some of the weirdest cars you've managed to make drift builds out of in this new update, and if you'd like to see an awesome drift meet we did, click this video here. We got up to all kinds of stuff, including tandems, tuggy runs, and all sorts of different drift events, and I think you'll really enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video though, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for much more GTA drifting content. Thank you all very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.